we play lacrosse.
The energy is palpable, and I can't tell you how pumped I am to just watch it unfold.
It's the biggest stage in lacrosse.
And we'll see who can come out on top.
Teams hope that their dreams will come true at winning a national championship. Kavanaugh's not going to miss.
Shoot, score!
Corner rocket.
That was nasty. Scores on the run.
Fires and scores. Unstoppable.
This is about as good as it gets. Dreams, some will come true, others will be shattered on this night. It's time for the Men's Division I Lacrosse Championship Selection Show. We've got watch parties all across the country. What are they dreaming about? A shot, a chance at hoisting that trophy on Memorial Day and cutting down the nets. The national championship awaits. Hi, everybody. Chris Cotter alongside Paul Carcaterra and Quint Kesnick. Look at the soap opera star on the far side of the desk with us today. This has been an interesting year. You think about when we turn the calendar to May, it's been so unpredictable all year long, which makes this tournament look great.
Look, gentlemen, for the last month or so, I've been doing an exercise where I look at the potential teams in the tournament field. And I can make a case, for good reason, for 8 to 10 teams to win a national title. Now, with that said, there is one team out there in Cornell that unequivocally has the best player in the nation and a historic offense. And when they're buzzing, they will be the favorite.
8 or 9 who can win a national championship, yes. But even more than that, who could upset their way into championship weekend. We've never had a year like this. I mean, never. We've got nobody's undefeated. We've got one team with 1 loss, and only Ohio State in the field with 2 losses.
Now, let's take a look at the format here of this tournament. And we're going to have 10 teams that have automatic bids. 8 at-larges. We got 2 opening round games. Those will be on Wednesday at home sites. So a total of 18 teams in the field. And without further ado, let's move along. Kark, you were talking about the number 1 seed, the number 1 team in the country, the team that has set themselves apart all year. They are number 1, and they will get things started here at Cornell.
Number 1 in the nation in goals per game, over 16 per. They're the best shooting team in the country. C.J. Kurse looks like he's on a mission. He's the top scorer in the history of the sport in terms of goals, and he did that in less games than any player in the top 10 that scored in Division I history. But it doesn't stop with C.J. Kurse. His line mates are incredible, and Michael Long and Ryan Goldstein. In the semifinal win against Yale Friday in the Ivy League Championship, that trio combined for 25 points. But this guy is playing like he's on an absolute mission, and he is out to win a national title. He was a freshman in 2022 when they came up short against Maryland. 13 other seniors, Quint, they're buzzing.
That's what's got my attention. He's the leader of that group. He set the tone with his work ethic, with his leadership. But you got 13 guys who have the experience of making that climb to championship weekend. And what we saw from the Ivy League tournament, 21 goals in the semifinals, 20 massive goal-scoring runs, the ability to deliver knockout punches and just to keep a sustained offensive pressure on their opponent.
Sunday night, Cornell will face the winner of Albany and Siena. Siena and Albany are playing in one of the opening round games on Wednesday, Q. So teams that know each other pretty well because they're just close proximity to each other.
Albany, the America East champions, their 2nd consecutive league title, won 6 games in a row, taking down Bryant in the league championships. Congratulations to Scott Marr and the Great Danes, Silas Richmond, the leader of that group.
There you see Albany in the watch party. Scotty Marr's in there someplace. Albany's one of those teams. They got off to a really rough start this year and really played their way into contention.
Well, they play a big boys schedule. And when you look at the competition early on the year, it primed them for the America East title. They'll play Siena. This is an interesting story. They win the MAC. Liam Gleason's their head coach. He played for Scott Marr. He coached under Scott Marr. It's like Yoda and Luke Skywalker reuniting in the nation's capital. He's got some goal scorers. Pratt Reynolds is 3rd in the nation in goals per game. He's an undersized player, but man, can he find the back of the net, over 50 goals this season.
Let's move on and see who is next. It'll be the 8th seed, and this is always interesting. The final seeded team, the final home game, in this first round is going to go to North Carolina. They'll play on Saturday at noon, Q.
Carolina, 1-2 punch on offense this season has been outstanding with Owen Duffy and Dom Petramala. This is a team with a no-name, new faces on defense. I think their defensive coordinator, Dave Petramala, has done incredible work with this group. They have gotten a couple critical wins along the way, and after a couple years of not making the tournament, the heels are back.
That's Coach Bresci's house. I hope his wife Julie made her bolognese. It's epic.
Who will North Carolina face? This is another big one because this is presumably, geographically based, yes, but also maybe the best team that isn't seeded in this tournament, and it's Richmond, and they've had a strong year all year.
They're a rocket ship, 8-10 champs, 12-3, a loss to Maryland, which was close, a one-goal loss to Cornell and Duke. They've won 8 straight. Aiden O'Neal on offense is very effective quarterbacking that team. Hunter Smith is one of the best defenders in the nation, and as a team, they're the number 2 scoring defense nationally, man. They bring their hard hats.
How about Dan Shimani's club? All business in that watch party. Like they expect to be here, and they have all year the way they have played. The number 5 seed in this tournament is Penn State. So it's interesting now we see sort of the Ivy League, Big Ten, Q, and ACC, and where these teams fall, and Penn State falls at number 5.
Nittany Lions championship weekend appearances back in 2019 and 2023. Jeff Tambroni's got an excellent core of offensive players. Matt Traynor, Kyle Lehman, Hunter Aquino, the freshman, and Ethan Long have been putting together. I like Jack Frassion and his playoff experience between the pipes. I think that comes in handy. 10 wins this season, including that win over Cornell.
Happy Valley on Saturday. Who will they play? The Patriot League champs, Colgate. And what a run they had through the Patriot tournament. They won 3 games in less than a week.
Oh, beat Army on Friday. They were incredible. Matt Lacombe had 24 saves in that game. This offense puts up huge numbers, one of the best in the country. How about the Connor brothers, Liam and Rory, combining for over 150 points, the 2 lads from Manhasset, New York. And Matt Carwick has a unit that puts full field pressure on you. Their 10-man ride is amongst the best that you will see in Division I lacrosse.
Penn State's fired up. Colgate's fired up. We move on to the number 4 seed, and it's Ohio State. So this tells us something a little bit about this bracket, doesn't it, here, Q?
Well, Big Ten champions have, after their slow start against Utah, they've just rattled off win after win after win. You get some golf claps at their watch party because they got high expectations, and they should. You know what I like about Ohio State? They're balanced. They can play O, but they can play D as well. Caleb Fiok leads the country in save percentage between the pipes. I love their stable of defensive midfielders. They're solid in the face-off game, and it's different offensive guys each week. Whether it's Alex Marinier or Garrett Haas, they share the workload.
Yeah, Haas can feed. Marinier has about as hard of a shot from the right wing as anyone but the deep midfield, right? How about Liam White? He's a freshman. Last night against Maryland, he's ripping corners with his right hand and then on the run lefty. He's one of a stable of guys, the Gannon Matthews of the world, who've played big this year. Nick Meyer's team, you got to give them props. They lost their first game of the season to Utah. They were blitzed. They only had one other loss the entire year. It was against Maryland. They avenged that. They won the Big Ten regular season championship and the tournament. This team is for real.
And they earned a 4 seed, and they will play Notre Dame, the 2-time defending national champs, unseeded and having to go on the road to Ohio State to play in the first round. That's a tough matchup for both of these teams when you think about it.
Look, I don't think anyone would have pegged Notre Dame in the beginning of the year not being a top 8 seed. They didn't do themselves any favors, right? This week, they lose to Syracuse on Friday night in the ACCs. They have a couple of other losses in the regular season, one to Ohio State early. This is a team, though, if they figure it out, they can win a 3rd straight national championship. I think right now they're putting too much pressure on Chris Kavanaugh to make plays at the attack. If the midfield steps up and they could draw slides, I know they're going to be good defensively. This team could go on a run. So no favors for Ohio State. Right. Ohio State, you have this historic run, and you're the Big Ten champs, both regular season and in the tournament. Oh, here's your gift. You're playing Notre Dame.
It's a game we covered early in the year, Chris and I, and Ohio State beat them with possessions and being efficient on both sides of the ball. Notre Dame's issue has been scoreless streaks on offense. In more than 4 games this year, they've gone on 25 to 30-minute scoreless streaks. I think that combined with some inconsistencies offensively with midfield production has really been the challenge for them. But this is the game you want if you're Notre Dame. You can avenge a regular season loss. This will get their attention. And they've won 2 national championships in a row. And as you said, the road to Boston is going to be a tough one when you have to start out in Columbus.
They're hungry dogs again.
Yeah.
I mean, Coach Corrigan is not going to have to do anything to get this team's attention. Throughout the year, they don't play as many games as some of the other teams. Coach Corrigan likes to spread it out in terms of the travel. I think Chris Kavanaugh has had a spectacular year. If you look at what he's done in big games against big matchups, he's always come through. In the second half, he puts that team in a position to win week in and week out, but he needs some help. Jake Taylor's been a phenomenal finisher throughout his career. He's been a little quiet lately. And if a midfielder or 2, and we don't know about the health of Matthew Jeffrey, who was the ACC Rookie of the Year, if he was injected in that lineup, we've seen his speed. He's incredible, but we don't know his status.
How difficult is it to win 3 straight in men's Division I lacrosse? It's nearly impossible when you think about the few teams that have done it. You got to go all the way back to Hopkins in the late 70s. And then Syracuse was able to do it with some of the greatest teams that have ever played, maybe the greatest team to ever play the game, and the Gate brothers and whatnot in the 80s and 90s. And then Princeton, those great teams that Bill Tierney had in the 90s. That's it.
It's incredible when you think about it, what Notre Dame could do historically speaking. And you've had some of the greatest players of all time in those teams, right? You had the Gates and the Hess Hubbard and Masseys. And when you look back in time, Notre Dame has had those historic players.
Disappointing championship tournaments for these 2 teams, Princeton and Maryland. Where will they end up? That's next. 9 teams in, 9 teams still to go as we fill out the bracket. Let's head to the other side, tell you who's in. And let's start with the 3 seed. We'll tell you all at one time. Princeton and Towson. Princeton out of the Ivy taking on Towson. Let's start with that matchup coming on Saturday at 2:30, Kark. When you think about Princeton, we just saw them in the Ivy League final going down to Cornell.
Oh, they put on a show for 3 quarters. That was one of the most entertaining finals you've seen in league history against Cornell. They scored 15 goals. The bad news is Cornell scored 20. It starts with Coulter Mackesy. He is now tied with Jesse Hubbard as the all-time leading goal scorer in school history with 163. He's a lefty. He's slick. And he's got line mates and Nate Kabiri and Colin Burns who are just as slick. I love the way they move the ball around. I think they've made some adjustments this year defensively, and they look better. But, Quint, you know, Towson has really turned things around this year.
Started 1-5, and they've rattled off 10 straight wins to capture back-to-back CAA championships. This is a team that played in championship weekend back in 2017. Head coach Sean Nadelin, Towson Tigers, they mean toughness, and they have been nasty in the first round of this tournament. This team's led by Mikey Weishire, Ronan Fitzpatrick, and Chop Gallagher. Luke Downs has really given them stability between the pipes. And this team is on the improve and very dangerous.
Want to thank Towson for acting surprised on that watch party, too, delaying the reaction there until we had them on camera. Moving along in the bracket, number 6 is Syracuse. Syracuse comes in with the 6th seed. This is a team that struggled a little bit, Clark. We had them in their final regular season game against North Carolina. They didn't look great, but looked great these last 2 games in winning the ACC.
They were on the bubble on Thursday. Then they win the semifinal game against Notre Dame Friday, and then they win the ACC tournament against Duke today. Joey Spallina leads that offense from an assist perspective, second in the nation. You have Owen Hiltz, the lefty sniper, and then Sam English is about as well-versed of a midfielder as you will see in the college game. That's why all the PLL coaches and GMs are salivating over his ability to play anywhere on the field.
Sunday, 5 o'clock in the Dome. Who will they play? Harvard out of the Ivy. So this is one of the more intriguing matchups, Q, in my mind, in that first round.
And they're pumped, and they should be, because they had to hold their breath for the last 48 hours. The Crimson and Jerry Byrne back in the tournament. We covered them playing Rutgers back in 2022. This is a team that leads the country in ground balls per game. They've got a wicked ride. They like to play an up-tempo style. They've got some stars on offense with Jack Spidell and Sam King. They don't face off particularly well, but they play a ton of guys defensively, and they just want to create tempo.
They don't face off well, but they ride as well as any team in the country, and they're incredible on ground balls, number one nationally. And they will not flinch when they enter the Dome because they beat Syracuse earlier this season, and they will be ready to go.
Let's move on and find out who the 7th seed is in this tournament. It's the Duke Blue Devils, another team that was kind of up and down a little bit late in the going in this year, Q. You kind of thought, is Dino going to get into the tournament? And then they had a late push to get in.
I love their defense. Charlie Johnson, to me, is one of the best close defenders in the country. They've got a terrific short stick defensive midfielder in Aiden McGuire. And their first midfield is elite. Jack Pappendick, Max Sloat, and Ben Johnson. The question is attack production. They've moved Andrew McAdory down to attack. It's had varying success. But this team has kind of found their identity. They're athletic, and they play great defense in front of goalie Patrick Jamieson. And I think they'll play in low-scoring, close games in the tournament.
Yeah, they have the best short-stick defensive midfielder in the land in Aiden McGuire. He is an absolute physical force. And Tomas Delgado, who was quiet for most of the year, has exploded the last couple weeks at the midfield.
Who will Duke play on Saturday evening, the primetime game? Georgetown. The Hoyas once again make that late-season push, and they win the Big East. What else is new?
They've been great in the first round of the NCAA tournament. They're quarterfinal mainstays. Their head coach, Kevin Warren, played for John Danowski at Hofstra. He has so much respect for him, but he also has a plethora of talent. Aiden Carroll is the Big East Offensive Player of the Year. He is a big-time sharpshooter with the right hand, and they have an eraser at defense in Ty Banks, who is the league's Defensive Player of the Year.
Amazing. 7 consecutive Big East tournament championships. 7 in a row.
Who is the 2 seed? You're probably thinking at home, you know who it is. It's the Maryland Terps. And this says something about what the committee was thinking, doesn't it, Clark?
It does. It's all about the numbers. If you have the RPI, you have the strength of schedule. No one had more impressive wins than John Tillman did this year. They beat so many big dogs. You look at their schedule, they got it done. They beat Notre Dame early in March down in Atlanta. They beat Princeton. They beat Syracuse. The list goes on and on. Eric Spanos is a marquee attacker. He's 6'5", 220. If you give John Tillman a week to prepare, good luck.
And the 2 teams that he could be playing, one or the other, does not have a week to prepare for Maryland. They're going to be playing on a short week because the opening round game on Wednesday pits Robert Morris against Air Force. We'll take a look at Robert Morris celebrating.
Morris is a team that's really developed over the course of the year. David Burr, 50 points at attack. I love his balance, too. He's about 25 and 25. And then you have his goaltender, Nate Fechter, who's 56% on the year. So he's the type of player that can really plug a hole, and he'll have to face Air Force, and they're on a roll.
Champions of the ASUN, their 6th appearance. Their last tournament was back in 2017. They started off 0-4. And they have won 6 straight, taking down Utah to win the conference championship 11-10. Billy Wilson, head coach, congratulations. ASUN Player of the Year, Josh Yago. Kalen Driggs has also got 53 goals.
A week ago, if you would have said one of the service academies was going to make this tournament, you wouldn't have said Air Force and you wouldn't have said Navy. You would have said Army, because they came into the week ranked number 3 in the country, but they couldn't get it done in the Patriot League tournament, and they're out.
The committee spoke, right? They looked at the numbers, the RPI, the strength of schedule. Harvard was better in both criteria. The fact of the matter is, Army's a team, the way they were built up the middle, could challenge for a national championship, but they didn't get it done. And you look at their schedule. Yeah, they beat Yale. Yale normally is a great RPI win. Rutgers is normally a great RPI win. Those didn't help them down the stretch.
In every metric, Harbor had the advantage over Army, whether it was RPI, strength of schedule, or wins over the top 10 and wins over the top 20. Whether the eyeball test said you thought Army could win a national championship this year, and honestly, this is one of the better Army teams that we've ever seen, but they didn't get it done on their home field in the semifinals of a league tournament. And, again, when you look at the metrics, I know this hurts for Army fans, but this was the right decision based on the criteria.
They had a star at every level of the field. Sean Byrne in the goal. A.J. Pilot as a lockdown defender. Evan Plunkett as a midfielder. Jackson Eicher as an
This is not about players. This is about their record.
I know.
And their strength of schedule, and the fact that they didn't get to play Syracuse or Cornell this year and instead played Mercer, and their wins never materialized or worked for them.
Yes. Normally when you schedule a Yale or a Rutgers, you think it's going to help you. It didn't in 2025. The reason I'm bringing up all these stars is because I confidently can say if you match them up against these teams, nobody would want to play Army. But the fact of the matter is the committee spoke, and I applaud the committee. They stayed to their guns, right? They looked at what they wanted in terms of criteria in the RPI and the strength of schedule, and they didn't flinch. But at the end of the day, when you don't have the schedule and the strength of schedule and numbers aren't working for you, and you have to go out and you have to win a conference championship on your turf and you don't, I'm sorry.
It's a shame we won't get to see those stars at Army during this tournament, but we got 18 teams that are in. We're going to get to see all those stars over the next month leading up to Memorial Day. We'll talk more big picture items when we come back, now that we've had a chance to digest the bracket a little bit. Notre Dame shot at a three-peat. Can the number one team in the country run all the way to the title on Memorial Day? We'll wrap it up when we come back. I always want to say negative, Ghost Rider. The pattern is full, and it is. The bracket is full. All 18 teams now in place for this Division I Men's Lacrosse Championship. Cotter, Kark, and Kesnick just wrapping things up. Now that you've had a chance to kind of peruse the bracket, I've got mine here. It's got a pizza stain on it from that road trip from Ithaca where we were doing the Ivy League title here just moments ago. But now that you've had a chance to look at a kind of big picture, what do you think about a Cornell, for example? Are they the team that could, in your eyes, maybe more than anybody else, make that run?
I think something is lining up like magically with the stars with Cornell. They haven't won a national championship since 1977. They have the game's best player. In a year where there's tons of parity, you can ride that star right into the sunset on Memorial Day. I feel something with CJ Kurse that he's not going to be denied. But for me, Quinn, I look at the bracket as a whole. Just say the higher seeds advance and go to Hofstra in one of the quarterfinals. Cornell, UNC, Princeton, and Syracuse. It kind of sounds like that could have been Final Four.
You've penciled them in, and we haven't. I can see you've penciled them in.
No, I just said.
I refuse to pencil anything in. Having played in this tournament 4 times and covered it 30 years, there's no path here. Okay, there's no path in the tournament. It's a one-game deal. Okay, if you don't play well, you're gone. 4 games jump out at me in the first round. Richmond, North Carolina. All year we've been talking about Richmond. This is your chance to prove it. Yep. Richmond, stand up to a big bad team from the ACC. Then 3 other rematch games, Cotter, from the regular season. Penn State, Colgate's a rematch. Notre Dame, Ohio State, clearly a rematch. And then Syracuse, Harvard, a rematch. Really interesting.
I was saying for the sake of this exercise, if the higher seeds advance. Look at them. You heard those. Yeah. If the higher seeds advance, Cornell, UNC, Princeton, Syracuse sounds like a Final Four.
Look at that game on ESPN2 coming up here, the Ohio State-Notre Dame game. That's one in the first round you could circle on ESPN2. Yes, a lot of teams celebrating. Siena enjoying it. North Carolina back in the big dance. We're looking forward to it. It all gets started Wednesday night with the 2 opening round games. We'll see you then.